Dove and Woodhull welcome you to this session on advocacy presented by professor and therapist Karla Jackson Brewer.
Now we're going to talk about advocacy. I imagine that when I say that word, many of you may be thinking, I'm not an advocate. I can't do that. Well, in fact, you are an advocate. You advocate in your lives every single day. Think back to last week. Think of one instance or one time that you might have advocated for yourself or for someone else.
Yes. I participated in a state internet radio campaign, and I sent an email to Senator Clinton to help to lower costs for internet radio.
So you advocated for yourself and for others. Thank you. Someone else.
I advocated for a family at my school. It's a pretty high-need family, and there was kind of thought that maybe this wasn't the right school for them, and I just kind of explained that I think it is, and they need to stay. And
so what you did is you used your voice and an action to make a space for someone who might not have been able to do that for themselves. School is an excellent example. And in fact, I'm sure as some of you think, you advocate every time you go to a parent-teacher conference. Your children advocate every time they have a new idea in the classroom. So advocacy is happening right in that arena. In fact, when we advocate personally, relationally, professionally. We also advocate in our communities. We advocate nationally, and we advocate globally. Every time you vote, every time you give time and money to a house of worship, to a community organization, when you raise money for your child's school, or when you go to the doctor with a friend or a relative, you are being an advocate. Every single time that you take an action in your life, you are being an advocate. Let's think a little bit about how our authentic voice connects or relates to advocacy. Can someone share with me some ideas about how that might happen?
I think your authentic voice gives you the confidence to speak up, to be an advocate. If you know within yourself, within your authentic voice, that this is your truth, that this is what you know, it gives you the confidence to speak up for yourself or for someone else.
For me, I know that when, as a school counselor, if something happens with a child that brings up an emotion in me, if something makes me angry that their needs aren't being met, that emotion will inspire me to advocate for that child and make sure that whatever they need is being taken care of.
So what you say is that you can use emotion connected to your authentic voice to give you energy to advocate for someone else. Excellent. How else?
Authentic voice, well, we defined it earlier as being our truth, and so that would tell us what your values are and about things that you believe in.
We often use our truth, our values, to support our actions in the world. One other person.
Choosing to speak. I was in a situation just last week where I was in a discussion with a group of people and we were talking about sustainability issues. And there was one side of the room who just had a very difficult time seeing that we could create a more sustainable world. And like, how do you convince other people to do things like composting and all the things you need to do to be more sustainable? And I said, well, first you begin with yourself. What are you doing? I am composting. I shop at the local green markets for my vegetables and things every week. And just by saying that, the energy in the room changed. And people had more of a vision of what they could do.
What you've all shared with us is how you can use personal power. How your personal power fuels advocacy. And then that leads to action and change. Another thing that we find with advocacy and authentic voice is that we have self-knowledge. And self-knowledge leads to personal power. Personal power fuels advocacy. Advocacy leads to action and change. Anytime you take an action, you are being an advocate. Anytime you take an action for yourself, for others, you are the advocate.